So,
Anyway, same-sex marriage. So, everyone would have heard and is probably sick of the plebiscite.
Sick of the plebiscite.
Yep.
Sick of the plebiscite.
I'm really not
vote
sure
yet?
what image to put up for this.
Can you put up a ballot?
A rainbow.
Look up ballot and just put up a picture of a ballot.
Anyway,
Go on.
Anyway,
Yep.
so the plebiscite is sort of swinging into gear. So this is weird. There's a High Court challenge, and it might not actually survive next week.
Oh.
It might be struck down
we'll just keep going until
Okay.
then.
because the government funded this plebiscite by using a particular part of the law that says that it has to be an urgent need for it to be done, and
Yep.
it's really hard to argue that it's urgent.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just politically expedient, so that might get struck down anyway, so we might not be talking about this in 2 weeks.
Wow.
But anyway,
We'll talk about how we're not talking about it.
yeah, we'll talk
Yeah.
about that.
Okay.
So the whole thing with the plebiscite was the opposition didn't want to have a plebiscite, a real plebiscite. This is a fake plebiscite. They didn't want to have a real plebiscite because they were like, there's no way that we can have a respectful debate about this without people coming out with ridiculous, hurtful stuff that will harm members of the LGBTI community. I believe there's a Q in there somewhere and I can't remember where it goes.
LGBTQR.
LGBTQI.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
before the I.
Yep.
Okay, I thought it was after. IQ. No, that wouldn't work. Anyway.
Do you think they'll ever rearrange it to make a word?
No.
I hope so, because it's getting a bit long.
Yeah.
They need some vowels in there.
A bit long in the tooth.
Come on, asexuals. Get in the game. Anyway.
They don't want to be in the game.
What even is an asexual?
They don't want to be in the game.
You just have
No
it
sex.
means you're not interested.
Also, kind of like gender
You
neutral.
don't get sexually aroused
Oh, wait.
Kind of like
by
Donna.
anything.
You-
Wow.
I thought that's what you were going to say, but then you didn't.
Okay,
I
so
wish I
about
did.
the
It's pretty
plebiscite.
So anyway, the whole argument was that it's not going to be respectful, and the government was like, no, it'll be respectful. This will be a unifying moment for the country. And then comes along some posters in Melbourne.
Ooh.
Allegedly, there were posters that said, "Stop the." I'm not going to say the word.
Okay, let's just do a swear word warning in terms of we're going to say the F word that's really offensive to gay people, but we're only going to say it twice. So
Okay.
the poster said, "Stop the fags."
Right.
We won't say that again, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that get you blocked on YouTube? Is that a blockable word?
No, I think as long as you're clear about it.
Yeah, we were referring to a bundle of sticks.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was ridiculous, and it had all these like statistics on it about depression and stuff
Yep.
that were just wrong.
And the picture was two guys with rainbow belts?
So they're
Yeah.
all quite racially balanced. All these posters as well. It would be like a white guy and a black guy.
Was it?
I think it was, or the other one was a white guy and a black guy. Anyway,
Yeah.
they had rainbow belts, and they're like in front of a cowering child, suggesting that same-sex couples beat their children
Yep.
at a higher rate, which is ridiculous and not founded on any kind of actual facts. Now, everyone... So, the news reports about this were, like, posters plastered all over Melbourne, and it was, like, showing the poster. This poster had come to everyone's attention by a guy's Twitter feed, and he said, look at this, how's this for a respectful, unifying moment? And then he tagged, like, Malcolm Turnbull and all them. But it turned out, and all the news reports were like going nuts about it, and Channel 10 even had a picture in their report of a bus stand, like a classic bus stand, it's got 3 sides to it, and you can see this offensive poster on one of them. It turned out this guy hadn't actually seen the poster himself. He had it sent to him by a friend. But he's very confident that that friend was telling the truth. So there is a few reports of these posters being seen, but people taking them down immediately.
Right.
And to be honest, that's probably the best thing they could have done instead of actually publishing it or even tweeting about it. It's just been like, oh, that's ridiculous. If every single person who's a normal person and not
hateful
just saw something that bad, even if they're a yes or a no voter, and just went, no, that's ridiculous, and took it down immediately, these posters would last about 5 seconds.
That was my thought, because the only place I've seen this poster is on the news.
Exactly.
Or on Yes Voters,
Exactly.
Twitters and Facebook.
Yeah. There's not that many people who would walk down a lane in Melbourne before it would get taken down.
And I feel like
And no one would need to see it.
Even most people who are on the no side would take it down because it looks like they're about to hit a kid, and why would you ever put that on a poster?
No, it was terrible. Like, even no people aren't bad people. Mostly. Mostly. Qualify that statement. But anyway, and Channel 10 got in lots of trouble because it turns out they'd photoshopped their picture.
Oh,
the classic
what's
news
this about?
media blowing something out of proportion that it was like just to like sell ad time.
Yeah.
Made this into a way bigger issue. Made sure that poster was seen by way more people than should have. I think they traced it back eventually to some American neo-Nazi site.
Oh.
really?
Yeah.
The actual poster?
Yes. So like the origin of
Yes.
the poster, the
Yep.
design is from, I don't know.
So not even Australia.
No, it wasn't even Australia. I think they had appeared in America, but like it takes one person with Photoshop
And a printer.
mental health problems.
I'm pretty good
put
at
up
Photoshop.
a poster like that.
Yeah.
And there's no need to blow it out of proportion by putting it all over the news and everything and making such a big deal out of it. But it kind of played into the idea that it wasn't going to be a respectful debate, and that was why people jumped on it, saying, oh, look at this is proof that it's not going to be a respectful debate.
Which side do you think actually posted it? Because it just hit me. I was like, this would be beneficial to the yes.
Yeah, that's the claim that the no people are saying, is that maybe someone from the yes side put this up to make us all look like homophobes and terrible people.
Right. So demonizing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, because that would be a really random plan. Because the common sense thing in my head is if someone puts that up, someone's just going to take it down, and no one's going to see it. So it's a very elaborate plan to put it up. So maybe the guy lied about it with the tweet, but I wouldn't imagine someone would actually put it up on a wall.
But it's
in the hope that it would get found.
It's the same thing. Like,
yeah, it's the same thing, and I don't know. I hope not.
Putting it on your Facebook feed is far more.
Yeah, and
worse than a wall.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. There actually is other posters that have been found that are pretty bad as well.
The same poster,
flyer.
or
no, it was
different
a different
designs?
design.
Yeah.
That one was talking about. That was the racially balanced one, actually. Yeah, no. So that one's bad. But anyway, there's another one that basically equivocates between same-sex marriage and pedophilia, and says that same-sex couples
are over 30 times more likely to molest children.
What?
Yes.
Gay marriage enables pedophilia.
Where do they get these statistics from?
They don't. This was by this is a neo-Nazi group in Australia. I don't even want to say their name.
Yeah,
anyway, it's a neo-Nazi group
it's
a neo-Nazi group in Australia that probably has like 5 people in it. But so there are posters like this.
Yeah.
There was a flyer that was put out in Sydney that I think was targeted at Chinese heritage people, because it was half in Chinese, half in English, and the English wasn't very good. And it was like saying that it's a curse on your family, like homosexuality, and it's the end of your family line because you can't have kids with your blood.
Far out.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty, there is bad stuff, and there is evidence that it is bad. But yeah, I mean, like, what do you guys think? So that's like an example of how it's disrespectful, and then the news media making it worse, because it's pretty clear that most of the media would be on the yes side.
Yeah.
To everyone, because every personality is just saying, let's do it. Like Carl Stefanovic, Waleed Ali, everyone on the project. It's basically the entire media is like, but then that makes sense because they're all college educated people. They're in an environment where it's, for the most part, left leaning, and they're not the type of religious people who would be upset by this.
Isn't there a newspaper that's all no, though?
The Daily Telegraph.
Yeah, so that's the Daily Telegraph, which is Murdoch's paper. And that's got your Andrew Bolts, it's got your Miranda Delevingne.
Yeah.
I can't remember how to say her name.
Is she related to Cara Delevingne?
Probably not.
Okay.
But they're conservative pundits who have come out saying this is all ridiculous. Yeah, but there is like the No campaign came out with their first ad this week, and it featured 3 mothers talking about their concerns with same-sex marriage, and basically the argument was they kind of equivocated. So one woman told an anecdote about her son being told that he could wear a dress next year to school, but the principal of that school came out saying he couldn't find any evidence that that was the case, that any teacher had said that, and it wasn't true.
So she was an actor?
No, she's a real mum. She's a mum in that school. That's why the principal was able to come out and say that didn't happen.
Oh.
Another one was saying, she didn't even say what she was talking about. She said, because the whole thing was about these programs that have happened in Canada and other countries like Europe, where the education system features a lot more same-sex content,
like
sex education, from a younger age than they're comfortable with. I mean, a lot of the no arguments that I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they feature a couple of logical inconsistencies. They usually either do the slippery slope argument, so if you start this, then it leads to something else that's worse, or they're drawing false equivalences. So I'm hearing a lot about a child needs to have a mother and a father, but that's not what we're voting on. We're not. Like same-sex couples can already have children, can already adopt.
The counter to that is though that a family marriage, the purpose of marriage is to start a family. So I think that would be the counter to that.
Yeah, but like the whole argument that a child needs a mother and a father is void in this, because that's not what we're voting on.
Yeah, but
like it's already the case that a child can have.
If you believe marriage was for starting a family, though, you would say they're not going to start a family. I don't believe that was what marriage is for.
Yeah, but that's different to saying what a child needs. Do you get what I mean? Because that's not what we're voting on. We're voting on whether they can get married. We're not voting on whether or not they can have children.
Kids.
They can already have kids. That right's already afforded to them. So, like bringing that up with this is like a false equivalence, because it's just dragging in something else that's not actually there, or a red herring. It's one of those two. Another one that I have heard is,
it's in the Bible.
Yeah, that one, that comes up a lot. That's actually the most, in my mind, the most valid one. The most valid argument.
Although I Googled for about 2 hours the other day where it actually was in the Bible. And I'm pretty good at Googling.
Just look at your screen.
We can get into the theology of it, but you probably don't want to. But there's only a handful of verses that
it really doesn't explicitly say it can't be between a man and a woman. I mean, a man and a man.
You have to interpret the crap out of it in order to get it to say what you want it to say.
It says homosexuality is a sin till the cows come home. It just doesn't say anything
There's probably only 3 verses that explicitly say that.
Yeah. But they
also list alongside drunkenness, orgies, and a whole bunch of other stuff that aren't illegal.
Yeah. Well, we tend to blow homosexuality.
When was the last orgy?
In a sinkhole? Probably.
Whoa.
Yeah, but like you just can't.
So you're not going to answer me.
What I'm saying is you can't find the sentence what's the sentence?
Yeah.
That 2 men can't get married. It never says that.
No.
And it never says it's just between 1 man and 1 woman either.
But yeah, that's not the point. The center of that argument would be that you can't deny that marriage in our culture, in Australia at least, has for a long time been associated with the church or with religion in some way.
And 1 man and 1 woman.
So yeah, to a lot of people, not most people have civil celebrants when they get married anyway at the moment. But to a lot of people, their deeply held beliefs is that marriage is a religious right, as in RITE, not RIGHT. Because of that, you're changing the definition of it. The problem with that argument is that it's a civil thing. Marriage is defined by the law, so it shouldn't recognize any particular religion, all that sort of stuff. So that's the argument that goes back and forth. The stuff about the kids having parents, that's not a good argument, because that's not what we're voting on.
What about the slippery slope?
Slippery slope one, that's where they talk about that's where you would categorize people worried about pedophiles, transgender bathrooms, like
bestiality.
You keep hearing all that stuff coming into it. It's like, no. Like there's no logical link from committed gay couple gets married to someone's going to molest a kid in a bathroom, or people are going to be allowed to marry animals. There is one thing I'll say, I don't see why you can't have polygamy. if the argument, right? Yeah, if the argument is as long as people are consenting adults, they should be allowed to do it.
What if the consenting...
There's got to be a Mormon out there going, why the hell can't we get married to all these people?
Well, there's got to be a number of people out there. There's got to be some... What if the consenting adults are father and daughter?
Yeah. The love is love argument kind of fails because of that, I think, is when it's more just talking about the emotion of love.
Yeah.
Where, like, that can be applied to anything, I feel.
Yeah, and I think a senator came out today saying love is not actually enough for marriage. Like, that's not the only qualification for someone to get married.
Isn't it? Right?
Amen.
Yep.
Chris is married. As the only married person, how do you feel?
Let's talk marriage, guys. That is like part of the slippery slope argument, because 50 years ago, this was never.
No.
So then, in 50 years from now, will someone and their dog, someone and their pillow, will they want to get married, and why can't they?
Yeah, but then I think the line is really easy to draw at consent. Like
consenting
two things that have
father
to go to
and
consent,
daughter.
but then I don't know how you can argue against it other than the fact that it would result
if they had relations.
They're not gonna. There's someone would have to get like chemically.
But the slippery slope stuff is being kind of piled on by everything that seems to be happening in Canada.
Yeah.
What's going on in Canada? What's happening in Canada?
So the stuff in Canada is they have quite a liberal education system, I think.
Right.
And there's some stuff that's very similar to safe schools. The problem is it's become like a really ideological debate. So people are feeling like their control over their society has been lost. Like it's a culture war now, which is terrible because no one wins a culture war.
It's always, I don't want my kids to be raised in a school where it's encouraged to be not what I want them to be, sort of thing.
If you see an argument and it has a lot about these lefties or these right wings or whatever like that, as soon as someone's pulling out those labels as if that's an argument, then you've gone down the path of a culture war, and it's terrible, and it's not unifying in any way.
Yeah.
If there's anyone listening who wants to know who they should be angry at, it's the cowardly politicians who decided that they were okay with family arguing amongst each other, with friends, with neighbors arguing between each other because they didn't want to do it themselves and do it properly. Because the people who should be doing this is people who have an understanding of the law, understanding of the purpose of the law. Like, most of them are lawyers. Their job is to make legislation. This is their job. And they abdicated it, and it's causing a lot of people to yell at each other in our society for no damn reason.
Do you think that the argument of causing strife, causing hate, like RE, the posters, is valid?
I think on the yes side, there's a lot of people falling into the trap of we're better than the other side.
Yeah.
And it helps their argument when bad stuff like this happens. So they're pretty big on trumpeting it.
Yeah.
There was no need for those posters to be such a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think the people on the yes side actually made them much worse than they had to be.
Right.
And you also, like, it's as much of a logical fallacy to argue from the point of, like, I'm better than you or you're an idiot. Because that's not an argument as well.
The argument is you're a bigot, you're a bad person.
Yeah, if you can just go, oh, you're a bigot or you're a homophobe straight away, just because you're saying no. I know that's not true. Like, I know there's, like, parents who have gay kids who still would vote no, but they love their kids. They're not homophobes. They just have strongly held beliefs on what marriage should be. Yeah. And they shouldn't have had to have that. That decision shouldn't have had to be in their hands anyway.
Yeah.
We'll finish on this question from Renee Whatago. Can you still have equality and acknowledge difference? Does everything have to be labelled the same to be equal?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Chris.
Oh no, it's disappeared. That's a good question.
It is a good question.
I don't think equality should mean sameness.
What do you mean?
I don't think things have to be the same or labelled the same in order to be equal. But I guess that question would come down to, like, okay, why don't gay people have another thing that's not called marriage?
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to be called marriage in order to be equal value, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anything you create would be. Like, there's a power in saying this is my husband or this is my wife.
Yeah, sure.
As opposed to having to say this is my partner.
Yeah.
It's a different thing in our society.
Mm.
So it's kind of undeniable from that regard. I don't know what you would call them. You'd have to invent a new word.
You would, yeah, absolutely.
And it would definitely not have the weight that those words already carry. So I think in this case you kind of need to label them the same in order for them to be equal.
Yeah, and that's what it is, because what it is, it's saying you can't do this because of who you are.
Yeah.
And that's like, you can't be the same as us, you can't be equal with us because of who you are. It's just not equality.
At the end of the day, the Bible is like a biblical version of marriage would be like you get married and it's a vow you make before God. That's already, most marriages are not that.
Sure.
So it's pretty hard to argue that the biblical version of marriage is what the legal version of marriage represents.
I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes from.
Yeah.
Is that traditional version of marriage is what people think of, a bride and a groom. And then there's the Christian sense of marriage is a bride and groom, but that's before God and with God. But the traditional view of marriage is a man and a woman, but without God, with some celebrant, with whatever, and that's gone years and years and years ago.
Yeah. I mean, the procreation argument is there. Like, you marry a person to have kids and create a unit that helps raise those kids. Yeah. Fair enough. Make that argument. That's an argument you can make if you want. There's already families that are same-sex, so I don't see why them being married or not married is going to change that in any way.
Yeah. I also think, just quickly, that there's a problem with communication between the two opinions. Like, I was reading an article, like, clearly on the yes side about, and they were saying how the ABC put out a statement towards the Christian lobby, and they said they will be given a fair hearing and treated with respect. And they're going off about how can you give anyone a fair treaty just because they have a different opinion. And I think that's how it's going now. You disagree, and because I don't think the same, you won't be treated with respect or dignity, which is kind of what they're fighting against, right? Yeah.
If anything, I wish this was happening in the High Court or something.
Yeah.
Because they're qualified and they're judges and they might actually have this is a legal question. People aren't qualified to handle legal questions.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I know what taxes are.
Do you?
You know how to not pay them.
Jeez.
Well, people often equate this argument to that racism used to be okay as well.